the oil-rich town of Brega after a coalition airstrike destroyed a Gaddafi convoy. Paula Sleer is in Tripoli for us, so we can now cross live to her. Hi, Paula. So, reports of renewed fighting today, and also reports about rebels now in control of Brega, which is supposed to be quite a significant town. Tell us, how is the front line looking right now, and what are you hearing about this town of Brega?
Well, as has been the situation for much of the past week, it's not really clear who is in control of this oil town of Brega in the east of the country. What has changed, though, is that there was a lull in NATO airstrikes for about 24 hours in and around the city. And several hours ago, NATO did hit a convoy of 8 Gaddafi military vehicles that were advancing from the center of the town, which is where they are in control, to the outskirts, which is where the rebels are holding the front line. Now, according to eyewitnesses, 2 of those vehicles were hit. The convoy quickly regrouped and then retraced its steps back into the city center, bringing with it the bodies of slain soldiers. And we understand from eyewitnesses that there are now burnt-out military vehicles all along that road. Yesterday, Monday, there was fighting between both sides until nightfall. At that stage, the rebels did retrace their steps to the outskirts, and again, they are holding the fort there. This is an important town because if the rebels can maintain control, there is a small oil refinery in Brega, and this will be a source of income for the rebels, who are then able to purchase heavy weaponry. And this is one of the shortcomings that they are suffering at the moment. Despite the fact that the NATO airstrikes are providing them with some kind of assistance, they are continuing to call on the international community for some kind of weapon supply. In the west of the country, in the city of Misrata, we are now hearing that clashes there in the last 24 hours have seen 5 people killed and 24 people wounded. And we are hearing more and more calls that a humanitarian situation is evolving there as people remain without access to food, water, fuel and electricity.
Now, Paula, when it comes to these so-called diplomatic efforts that Gaddafi is making, or even an envoy loyal to Gaddafi, apparently this envoy is doing a 3-country tour, trying to drum up international support for some type of diplomatic resolution here to resolve the conflict. What are the people where you are in Tripoli saying about these so-called diplomatic efforts?
Well, it is a rather strange situation because we hear so much about the diplomatic activity happening outside of Libya. But while here in Tripoli the government is remaining tight-lipped, Gaddafi himself has not been seen, although state television says that he was greeting crowds of his supporters outside the compound that he has here in Tripoli. We haven't been able to independently verify exactly when these pictures were taken. But what we are hearing from Ankara, the Turkish capital, is that a convoy there representing the Gaddafi regime, headed by the deputy foreign minister, has been putting a proposal on the table that would try and see some kind of ceasefire implemented, while at the same time a political solution moving forward. But the Turkish saying that the sticking point is the whole question of whether or not Gaddafi remains in power, with the Libyan regime insisting that he does, while the rebels insisting that he doesn't. Now, we understand that in the coming days there will be a delegation from the opposition who will be going to Ankara, and they will be putting forward their case. That Libyan delegation has already held talks in Athens and in Malta. Now, one of the proposals we're also hearing that is being put forward is the possibility that one of Gaddafi's sons, Saif al-Islam, could head up some kind of constitutional democracy, some kind of transition towards that. But the rebels and most in the international community are saying that that is unsatisfactory because he is essentially his father's son and cut from the same cloth. And it is ironic because Saif al-Islam, until this crisis began, was one of the most reformist voices here in the Libyan regime. But ever since this fighting began more than 1 month ago, he has turned out to be one of the strongest defenders of his father's policies.
All right, RT's Paula Sleer there with the latest on Libya, live from Tripoli. Thank you.